This is my story, KE, and everyone has a story. For sure, you have a story to tell. Today, we talk to Benedetta Mwaura, who is telling her story of postpartum depression. She has been through it not once, but twice. The first pregnancy and the second pregnancy. But she realized in the second pregnancy, you don't have to go through it. Listen to her story. This is my story, KE, on Look Up TV.
It all started, it's something I didn't know like it was going to happen to me, and with my first pregnancy I didn't know at all it was the same thing I was going through until my second pregnancy. So my first one, it was an easy pregnancy. I had it easy all through, but when it came to around 6 months when I was around 6 months pregnant, I had issues both financially and issues with family, and so we got to a point where I had even to elope to Uganda, and when I went there I stayed there for 2 months, and then I was out of supplies, so I again had to call my mom. My mom brought me back to the country, and she took care of everything I needed then to so she took care of everything I needed then to have my baby, and I finally had the baby, a healthy baby boy. But now that is when all I can't, Jupiter, I can't. When I had the baby, I was forced to go back home, and I didn't have the support from my sisters, so it was a hard stay at home because I had to stay there for 2 years, the whole 2 years. But that 2 years was really hectic for me because I was forced to engage in manual jobs for survival. That is one, because there is no one who could have supported me. I didn't have the support system then, so I needed something to feed for myself and the baby, and that is when I started doing manual job. I could fetch water for buildings. Sometimes I even started plating people. I could go to high schools and ask the head teachers to allow me to go over the weekends to do blow dry to the students, and then they used to pay me with subsidized prices, and that is how I survived for 2 years. But that time it was really stressful when you don't have support from your family members, and they just want you out of home because they feel like you're stressing mom. And my mom is the only person who's supporting you, and again she has to balance because she's getting pressure from my sisters, and she has to show me care, and it became a little hectic for all of us. But so the hardest thing was my son had convulsion disorder, so that is why I took long to look for a job and stuff, so to take care of my son. And after 2 years we sat down with my mom and discussed, and we realized that I needed to get a job. So I got a job, and I had to leave and go to Narok. That is where the job came in. So when I went to Narok, my mom decided that she was going to be left with the baby for some time, because you're going to a foreign land, you don't know anything, you don't know anyone. I'm going to start a new life there. I was being paid through commission, and I didn't know how much exactly I was going to be making at the end of the month. So it was easier for me to survive on my own without my son. So my mom decided that she was going to be left with the boy as I go and explore. So after the second week, I remember clearly, after the second week, that is when my sisters started complaining about me leaving my boy at home, and they wanted me to take my boy with me. So I didn't understand, really, I didn't understand why they were so harsh with me when they're the ones, yes, they were actually the ones who were supposed to support me in the first place. So it was bad, yani, that time, because I could get all kind of texts from them telling me that I have to have my son, I have to take my son from home. There is no way I'm going to stress my mom with my son. And since now I have a job, I needed to take my son from home. So they told me, I remember one day my elder sister texted me and told me that I did not give birth to my boy to be taken care of by my mom. So, and she was giving me until the end of that day to go pick my son, or else she was going to put my son in a matatu, my 2-year-old. She was going to put him in a matatu and bring him to me, to Narok. That thing killed me. It killed me completely. Okay, I'm this person who doesn't know how to express myself to people. I'd rather die with my own stress than tell the world what I'm feeling, like what I'm going through. People know me out there as this happy soul, this person who is never sad, this person who's ever okay, this person who smiles with everyone and with everybody. But deep inside, I think I am the only person who knows what I normally go through, what I was going through then. So I told my stepmom to take my son and bring him to me. So she took him, brought him to me. That time I was living in a single room. I was living in a single room. I didn't know how I was going to take care of this boy. I'm working. The kind of work I'm doing does not, like, it is not good enough, because I think at the end of the month when the commission came, it came to 7,500. So you can imagine you're earning 7,500. You have a boy you're supposed to take care of. You're supposed to look for a house help. You're supposed to do so many things for this boy. So it was a hard time for me. But at least I had good neighbors. One called Mama Austin. Thank you so much wherever you are. She's the one who really supported me, because whenever I wanted to go to work, I'd leave my boy with her. She'll take care of my boy the entire day, and then in the evening I'd come and then take my boy. So that is how I survived for some time until a miracle happened and I got finances. So I was able to look for a house help.
How long did that take? Like you living with
6 months, around 6 months. It took around 6 months. And this time, it was really stressful. It was hell, because there were times. So there were times when we were not even able to raise money for food. That is, so I had this rapport with my neighbors at the shop, at the kibanda. So I would get some things and then I'd pay at the end of the month. But look at my salary. It could not have taken care of everything. So even when I got this house help, at first it was a struggle, because I could not sustain myself and the boy and sustain the house help as well. So I had this many debts, and it got to a point where my house help said that she was leaving because I had stayed for 3 months without paying her. And I understood, and she left. So I decided I was going to stay by myself and the boy. Sorry. At that moment, I don't know what got over me. I remember I came from work and I decided to walk from Narok town to where we were staying called Total. And along the way, I had so many thoughts. And I decided like, it's over, like all of this is over for me. And I decided like, I bought rat. Yes, I bought rat. And I said like, I'm going to end it all for me and the boy. So I got home. Fortunately or unfortunately, I prepared the concoction because I wanted to feed it to the boy first and make sure he's dead before I took it. But when I was preparing it, he fell asleep and he went to bed. So I said, I'm going to wait for him to wake up and then feed it to him. So I said, I waited. When he woke up, that time he was speaking, just speaking a little, and he told me, Mom, I love you. And I cried. I really cried. I don't know where that came from. I really cried, and I said, I don't know if it is God who has sent this boy to tell me that he loves me. So I postponed the act until further notice. So at that moment, a friend of mine, I don't know, I think it was just God. He just called me and told me that you're so low. I told him, actually, we don't have food. That time I decided to open up, because if I didn't, the boy was going to go hungry. So he told me, let me see what I'm going to do. And he sent me 5,000. I cried again. Then I went to the shop. I did shopping, enough to sustain us for some time. After like 1.5 years, I had issues with my supervisor. And the issues went for some time. No, after 2 years. That was after 2 years I stayed there. And my supervisor insisted that I had to be forced on a transfer from now Narok to Nakuru. And since I was not in a position to sustain myself and the boy, I had to leave the boy with the house help back in Narok as I went, because it was not like a clear transfer. He just told me there is a lot of work here in Nakuru. Why don't you come with your equipment, you assist for some days, and then you go back. So I took a number of clothes and then my equipment, and I went. So when the work was over, he was not in the office then. So I called him and I asked him, so and so, the work that I came to do is done. Should I go back to Narok? Because I left my baby with the house help and the neighbors. So my neighbor is the one who was watching them. And he told me, no, actually you're going to work here until I say otherwise. And I was like, my son has just enrolled in school. He was 3.5 then. My house help is there. I am still paying rent. What am I going to do with these things? He insisted that I'm not going back, that you have to take care of, and it's so demanding, and you have to take care of yourself. So I had to organize how to bring my boy to Nakuru. And luckily, I spoke with one of my sisters and they agreed to host me and the boy. But that was the beginning of another hell. Because after 1 week, issues started coming up. Every time she'd go visit my other sisters, she'd come back and she used to be so hostile on me and the boy, and I didn't understand why. She goes visiting them and she'd come back hostile. She'd go visiting them and she'd come hostile. So at some point, after like a month, she told me that, no, I wake up, it was on a Sunday morning. And I woke up. Normally what used to happen on a Sunday is that I used to wake up and wash, because I didn't have an opportunity to help out during the week because of work. I'd wake up at 5 and prepare my son for school and stuff, because we had to enroll him to another private school there. So I'd prepare them for school and then go to work. She woke up and told me, I want you to look for a house. I want you to leave my house. And just know that when you're leaving, you have to live with your son. Just like that. And I asked her, so have I wronged you in any way? And she said, just know that I have told you to leave. She didn't have an explanation then. So I sat back and I started thinking, like, how am I going to sort this out? That was on a Saturday. So on Sunday morning, normally they used to prepare themselves, all of them, even my son, and they used to go to church. But this particular day, they left my son behind. And I'm supposed to go to work. So what I did, since he had already finished his exams, I called my brother, who lives at home with my mom. And I told him, can I bring my son to play with your sons over the holiday, because I'm still working and I need to concentrate and I need to move out from so-and-so's place, so I need to concentrate on work. My brother said it's okay. So I started preparing my son to take him. I called the office and I told them to give me just 1 day off, because I had calculated my moves. I knew I'll take my boy home and then come back and go back to work the following day. So my sister, I don't know what happened. She didn't even go to church. I think she came back along the way and she found me packing the boy's clothes, and she asked me, where are you taking the boy? And I told her, since I don't have money right now and I don't know what to do, because I can't just move out with the boy, I have decided to take him to so-and-so's, and then after some time I'll get him back. Hey, hell broke loose again. She became angry. She started calling my sisters, the other sisters, putting them on loudspeaker, discussing me as I hear. And they were saying these nasty things. The second time I wondered, what have I ever done to these people, like, to deserve this kind of treatment? So this time I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anywhere to go. So I called my brother, another brother that is in Nakuru, and I asked him, can I bring my stuff to your house as I figure out what to do with me and my son? And he said no. He had been called by my sisters and was told not to assist me. So I called a friend of mine and he said he was going to come for me. So he came for me with a taxi and he asked me what was going on, but I was not in a position to explain. And I told him I told him I just needed some time. At that particular moment, he came for me, he took my stuff. But when I was in the taxi, I didn't know, my mind was blank because I didn't know where to go. And I told God, if I don't find a place in the next 10 minutes, I am going to stand in the middle of the highway with my son and kill ourselves, because I didn't know what else to do.
From wherever you're listening to Benedetta's story, we are taking a short break, but we will be right back after this short break as she continues to tell her story from where she is living. She wants to stand on the road and be hit by a car. Who does that? With a baby. You want to be strong for your baby, but she was at that breaking point in her life. Don't go too far. You can be part of this program by joining us by sending your SMS to 20374, or you can visit our social media handles, which is Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Look Up TV. Are you moved by the story? what is your story that you want to tell on this program? This is My Story KE. We continue with Benedetta's story about postpartum depression. She's taking us through the second phase of the depression that she went through.
At that moment, I didn't know, I could not tell clearly what was happening, because I called my stepsister and she accepted to have me and my son at her house. That was when I told God, like, if it is not going to happen, I'm just going to stand in the middle of the highway and have the cars run over us. So my stepsisters agreed to have us in her house. And she realized there was something, there was a problem with me. And because every time I had anger, I could break something. And every time I broke something, I felt so good inside. So Susie, she's called Susie. She sat me down because she knows my sisters. She sat me down and spoke to me and told me, like, things don't have to go this direction. So you'll stay in my house as long as you want. Don't stress yourself about anything. I will take care of you. As much as I don't have much, I will try and manage you and your son until you get back on your feet. She was an angel then. Because even now, because I don't know what I could have done, by the way. Yeah, I don't know what I could have done. So I don't know if my sisters hated me. One thing I've realized about depression is that after I got my boy, that is when it all came into me. And I think it all came into me because of the way my sisters were behaving towards me. Because if they treated me better, I don't think I could have had that kind of depression. If before and after, because before I got pregnant, there were no issues. But after I became pregnant for the first time, that is when these issues started piling and piling and piling. And I didn't understand what was up. So no, my sisters have not hated me from childhood. I think it was all came up when I got pregnant, because that is when they started expressing their feelings towards me and towards the baby. Because again, I didn't understand, even if you hate me so much, why do you really have to extend it to a baby who's so innocent, you see? So at least she took us in and it was all smooth. At least the pay was better there, as much as I was against the transfer and everything. And after some time, I managed to get myself another house and I moved out and I got this nice house help. She used to love my son so much and I relaxed. So my stepsister used to come and talk to me every now and then. She could call me every day. And at least I think I got out of it easily because there was someone who was there for me. But now it all came back when I became pregnant the second time. That was 6 years down the line, 6 years after my second pregnancy. Now at 7 months, it was a smooth pregnancy, by the way. At 7 months, I had stress came from every direction, not from my sisters this time, because I decided to shun away from them completely. And it has really helped me. It has helped me a lot because I have my peace and at least I know it's all on me and me and me and me alone. So at 7 months, a lot of stress, I don't know where it all came from, to an extent where I had to be admitted at Mata Hospital twice. Every time I was admitted and discharged, at least one of them, but she's the quiet one. She doesn't involve herself with family issues, so she came to Mater every day. She came to Mater every day to see me. She's actually the one, I don't know if she had realized like the previous mistakes, I don't know, but she made sure, that she stood with me throughout this pregnancy now. So she came to Mater every day to check on me. She had me discharged and everything. The bill was not a problem because I had my insurances and everything. So, but it all became an issue when I went to have my baby. I had complications when I was pushing. I had eclampsia and I was forced into an emergency CS. So I think because I had labored for long, I had stress already, and I had labored for more than 24 hours, and then this eclampsia, being taken to the theater, waking up the following day, swollen everywhere, like I was like this. I could not hold anything or anything, and I was tired. I didn't even want to see the baby. So when I woke up the following day, the nurses were telling me that my sisters had called the hospital and I should call them back. And I was asking them, why am I calling them? Like, where is the baby? Because I had not seen the baby yet. So what do you want me to tell them? What am I calling them to tell them? You show me the baby first, and then I'll call them and tell them whatever you want me to tell them, because I didn't have something to tell them, you see. So they brought in the baby, and I just looked at the baby and I told them to take it away from me. Yes, I didn't want to see her again. I just saw her. Yeah, she's okay. Take her away. So they took the baby away, and I slept with my pain and everything. So I was discharged from the hospital after I think 2 days, and when I went home, that is when now I think all this came up, because first of all, I didn't have someone in the house. It was just me, my boy, and my house help, and the baby now. So the worst thing is I could look at the baby and I could see her multicolored, like it's like a rainbow, like these crazy colors running all over her face and everywhere, and it all became confused. Sometimes I could look at her, and have you ever watched Antichrist? So I could see my baby resembling Antichrist, the baby now, to an extent where I didn't want to hold the baby. I didn't want anything to do with the baby. I didn't want to be associated with the baby. So there was this day, my friends came to see me because I had skipped the baby shower, and that time when I was supposed to have the baby shower, I had been admitted at Mater. So my friends decided to come to my house to see me since I had been discharged, and I told them the story. And just the other day, one of them told me, when we left your house and whatever you were telling us, I just went and told my husband, Benedetta is going crazy. I think Benedetta is crazy right now. We need to do something. Nothing was coming out of my mouth that made sense, according to them. When they heard from me that my baby resembled Antichrist, and I could see these multicolored colors on the baby's face and stuff, one thing that came into them is that I might harm the baby or harm myself. But one thing I thank God for was my house help. My house help was so supportive. She decided to be sleeping in my bedroom that time, she decided that she was not going to leave me alone. Even if I was going to the bathroom, she'd take me and wash me. So that time I called my sister Christine, and she told me that she was going to send her daughter over. So she sent her daughter, and the daughter could take care of the baby, because I told her I don't want this baby. It's like she's stressing me and stuff, and my hands are swollen. I'm still swollen and feeling pains. So just send someone to come and take care of me. So she sent the daughter, and the daughter could take care of the baby as I relaxed, and then the house help could take care of other things. After a week, I developed complications, and they were so painful. So I used to go to a nearby hospital, but after another week's medication, it was too much, because I became like almost paralyzed from stomach downwards. I could not walk, I could not do anything on my own. So I was taken back to the hospital for admission in an ambulance. And the hospital again took me in for a whole week with this pain, and they refused to admit me again with the baby. So my mother-in-law took up the baby, my kids, and my house help. She decided to have them at her place as I recuperated in hospital. So when I was in the hospital, the pain was too much. The pain was too much to an I remember I expressed milk for 2 days, but when the pain became too much, I could not produce any more milk. And I was on antibiotics. Sometimes the painkillers were not even working for me. They could work for 1 hour and then the pain is back. To an extent, I could not even leave bed. So they had to, even going to the toilet, everything, I had to make it happen on the bed. On this day, on Saturday, I told them, like, I'm tired. I am tired, because I kept telling them to take me for a scan to see what exactly is ailing me, because nobody knew what was up, and they refused. They didn't want to. So this one day I got fed up, and I told them I want to take myself to the washroom. I don't want to be carried. I don't want to go to the washrooms in bed. I want to take myself to the washrooms. And they said, it's okay, let us assist you, go to the washroom. And that moment when I was about to leave bed, my wound opened up. Yes, my wound opened up, and a whole liter of pus dropped on the floor, and everybody was shocked. Now that is when nurses started running all over, shocked and stuff. So I called my HR, because of the insurance and everything, because I had complained to her about the services I was experiencing at the hospital, and I told her my wound has just opened up, and she was shocked. And immediately she came to the hospital, and they looked for a different doctor, because at that moment my sister was saying that they had to take me to another hospital. But when I was about to be taken to another hospital, when I was leaving the bed, they were on their way to come and transfer me to another hospital. But now you see the wound has busted, and the hospital insists that you cannot be taken to another hospital in this condition. We have to rush you to the theater again after 3 weeks and do an emergency CS again. So we were given a different doctor, this time a very nice doctor, and she took us through what we were expecting. So she told us I had an infection and stuff. My wound was infected from inside, a lot of things. So I was taken to the theater for an emergency CS, and after a number of hours I woke up, and I stayed in the hospital for 3 days, yes, and then I was discharged. Surprisingly, they didn't close up the wound, they left it open and did some stitches. They said that it has to drain by itself. And so I was supposed to go for dressing after every 2 days. So in the process of going for dressing, after like a week, when the wound now started healing, this doctor, my doctor who was dressing me, was not around. So there was another doctor who was told to attend to me. And mistakenly, he sprayed the wound. I have never felt that kind of pain. I have never. So when I screamed, he realized that he had done a mistake, and that is when he started rushing, and the wound was infected again. So they changed and said that I have to go to the hospital now every day, not after every 2 days now, but every day. So I could go. You can imagine the stress you have, like every day going to the hospital to have dress ups and then going back home. You cannot even hold the baby. You cannot do anything on your own until that wound closes up. It was hell, but I think it got into me because I didn't know like why you have to go through so much just to have the baby. I didn't understand. And I think it developed some hatred towards my baby girl to an extent where if she cried, I'd walk out. I'd walk out and go and leave her crying. If she cried when I was in bed, I'd go sleep on the floor and leave her crying on the bed. So I didn't have even this bond there was no relationship with this baby. I didn't want to hold her. So my house help had to be there. Like she had to take care of the baby. And I thank God because at that time we were staying with my mother-in-law. So I don't know if she realized like there was something going on, and then my husband came. So at least they were there. They were there to hold the baby and to force me to hold the baby and to do a lot of things that made me like the baby a little bit. But again, I have come to realize that the bond is coming in right now. Right now is when we're building. 1 year, 2 months later. Yes. This is the time I'm having the bond with my son. And I don't think any parent should go through such. We give birth to our babies to enjoy them, to enjoy being with them, to have that relationship. Luckily, my boy, I loved him so much. As much as I had that depression and everything, it did not draw away so much from him. But the problem is I could beat him a lot. So I used to instill my anger on him. I used to beat that boy a lot. Later on, after this experience, that is when I realized, Kai, kumbe was doing all this because of depression. And after that, I say to myself, maybe it's a lesson from God. Maybe I have been so judgmental. Maybe I have taken some things for granted and it should not happen. But moving forward, I decided to never judge anyone. I decided to understand every situation anybody is going through and to never, ever, ever take advantage of any situation that someone might be going through. I have learned my lessons, and I pray that no mother goes through what I went through. Yeah.
That has really touched me. How she has gone through that, it's God's grace. You want to be part of this program and tell your story on Look Up TV on This Is My Story KE, you can share us with us. You can send us your SMS on 20374. You can visit our social media handles, which is Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, which is Look Up TV, and tell your story. Everyone has a story. You can tell it through speaking to someone through the television. My name is Jupiter Mayaka. Goodbye for now.